would play a very big role in the IT Park and the BPO Center. As a result, we are looking and we look forward to partnerships with international organizations that would be in position to partner with us to achieve this aspiration of a BPO center and IT park in the country. The intention of government is to create as many parks as possible that will support each other and be a hub for ICT in the region. To achieve and complete this project, Government of Uganda is pursuing a PPP, public-private partnership, and indeed all the agencies in the country are supportive of the idea, the Ministry of Finance, the Uganda Investment Authority, and all the other agencies that indeed have a role to play in the actualization of the BPO and the IT Park.
My name is Joseph Kiggundu. I'm Acting Director General with Uganda Investment Authority for a short while. And I'm glad to be speaking about the ICT sector, because that's the sector actually where I belong as well as a professional, as a registered software engineer. We're doing a lot of work at UIA. As you know, UIA was registered as a government body in 1991. And a lot of core initiatives at that time, up to around 2005, was really focused on how ICT can contribute to growth. And as you know, those of you who've been long enough in that industry, you know that some of the bigger players that we have in the country right now, mainly in the telecom sector, were registered around that period, the early 2000s. ICT has contributed quite a number of, has contributed to the growth of our GDP and remains one of our top providers for jobs. As you know, the top two taxpayers are actually telecom companies, players in the ICT sector, and we are glad that those are part of our registered investors as well. I'm talking about Airtel and MTN, and they are also some of the biggest contributors to indirect employment. So in regards to the specialized ICT park that the NITA-U and the ministry are setting up in Entebbe, for us that's good news. We know that this will contribute towards the provision of specialized ICT services, which actually have a big contribution to our economy. Okay, and then of course we are looking forward to the results that will come out of this project, because as you know, there are a number of global indicators where ICT is one of them. For example, the UNCTAD competitiveness ranking looks at a number of industry marks, and one of them is a measure on the ICT contribution to the economy. The other one is the African Investment Index, which also considers what they call social capital index. And when you look at what some of the things they look at, internet penetration, Facebook usage, and so things like that. So anything that talks about ICT usually tends to point to the larger profile of competitiveness for an economy, and it's one of the vertical growth factors. So at Investment Authority, ICT is one of the key sectors that we look at. And I want to say that we have registered 142 projects in the last 20 years, amounting to over $686 million planned investment. Some of these have gone ahead and gone above their planned investments. As you know, the telecom companies started out with small planned investments, but they have been reinvesting. So the profile for investments in ICT has certainly gone beyond the 686 that planned registered investment that we have. And they have gone way above, reinvested as they move through the generation of networks from second generation, third, fourth, and so on. We have, even as a government, have been making provisions for making sure that ICT grows. You might be aware that at a certain period, I think it was in the between 2005, 2010, there were a lot of incentives thrown to this sector to actually boost up. Some people had tax holidays, equipment was tax-free, you could bring it in, and it actually contributed quite a bit to that. So a specialized park to us is good news. We will partner with the ministry and NITA-U to continue incentivizing each other and facilitating each other to ensure that these projects actually come to growth. Of particular interest, we are looking at the business process outsourcing, which would actually take out a lot of our youth from their predicament of unemployment, yet they are skilled. Ugandans are very highly skilled in a number of specialized areas, which would contribute. So we hope the park will be looking into this and create some very good jobs for some of our youth who are roaming the streets but have the skills. UIA, in partnership with the rest of government and the President's office, we have what we call the Presidential Investors Roundtable, which also has ICT as a sector. And this is where we make a contribution of making sure the bottlenecks in the ICT sector are addressed from the lowest to the highest level, where we need, if we need policies of government to change, we meet the big players in the industry represented by their chairman and so on. And then we work through the bureaucracies of the Office of the Prime Minister, and finally meet the President and present areas for addressing at the highest level. So UIA is in this. The sector is one of our earmarked key growth areas. We certainly will be involved in licensing a lot of the people who will be going into this ICT Park. But we have also been doing things, we've been contributing directly to try and make business easier. We have what we call the e-government portal, the e-biz platform as we call it, where we work with NITA-U and some other key agencies to provide online solutions to what would be manual processes. So as you know, Uganda has been fast-tracking the issue of automation. A lot of our key licensing and business registration agencies have now gone online. And we at UIA are behind a lot of this integration to make sure that someone doesn't have to, that we increase competitiveness by making business easier. As you know, a lot of the tax related processes are already automated. We've been involved in the automation of business registration with our partners at URSV. We've been involved in integration with our partners at the immigration desk. A number of services there already online. You know, you're aware about the e-visa platform. And for us at UIA, we bring these systems under one platform called the e-government or e-biz platform. Lately, we are going to be switching on our e-tax e-biz integration and our ICT integration so that people can actually get teams online and also get their trading licenses online and also do their business registration online by the close of December. We've been running a lot of tests and some of the services have already been switched on. So ICT creates excitement for us. It's one of the areas where you can easily convince people to invest. So we are looking at a success story as far as this ICT park is concerned. And as you know, UIA is also mandated to regulate industrial parks in the country. So we will be, I think, playing in this area quite a bit. And we hope to be there when there are any issues to resolve regarding the investors that will be settling in this park and any other issues that may arise. Thank you very much.
My name is John Musinguzi, Commissioner General, Uganda Revenue Authority, and also Chairman, Board of Directors at the National Information Technology Authority, NITA-U. I'm excited to speak about the BPO IT Park that is being championed by NITA-U. This is one of the most significant IT projects that we are launching in the country that I believe will have far-reaching effects on the IT sector across the nation. There are many benefits that the IT BPO Park will bring on board. The most important one being creation of jobs and transfer of skills. The idea of this IT Park is that it will be a special economic zone that will attract a number of multinationals who would have a lot to offer for our local IT entrepreneurs in terms of skills transfer. And that, of course, will have a ripple effect. We believe that the IT Park will stimulate startups in the knowledge-based businesses, because a lot of people who will acquire skills from the multinationals after some time will be able to start up their own IT ventures and offer services in that sector. But the other benefit that this IT Park will bring on board will be the special linkage between industry and research. A lot of IT innovations come from intensive investment in research, and we believe the IT Park will provide such an environment where IT innovators will be able to invest in research and come up with original solutions that will solve some of our problems. Related to this, we believe that this IT Park will act as a special hub for innovation for anybody with ideas on what they can solve using IT. But also, we hope that the IT Park will be able to bring additional revenue to the country. Of course, once the sector has taken off, there will be a number of services that will be offering a lot of services which can contribute to the revenue coming out of this park. And then finally, we believe that the IT Park will offer us a special zone dedicated to research of new technologies. A number of technologies like AI, robotics, blockchain, drones are all new technologies where we believe that with the creation of this IT Park, there will be a zone dedicated for trial and experimenting of these technologies to confirm and see how suitable they are for the Ugandan environment. Definitely, the way this project is structured is that it will be a public-private partnership, and I want to take this opportunity to invite all members of this IT sector, all entrepreneurs, all investors who may want to invest in our nation to come and invest in this IT Park, because its success will create openings for additional investments in the same area. There's still a lot of land, and the government, the plan of government is to open up multiple IT parks in the different regions of this country and to create a special techno-economic corridor that links up all these IT parks to provide full coverage to the nation. I therefore want to thank NITA-U for championing this fundamental and very critical IT project in the country, and I want to welcome all interested investors to come on board and join with NITA-U in a PPP and take the IT sector to the next level in this country. Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to the National IT Authority of Uganda. I'm Dr. Mugasa Hatwib, the Executive Director of National IT Authority, Uganda. As an authority, one of our strategic goal is to develop and promote the IT and business processing outsourcing parks in Uganda. This goal was derived from the National Development Plan NDP-2, where the government of Uganda adopted an initiative to develop IT sector through job creation and entrepreneurship. From this initiative, His Excellency provided us land in Entebbe, and this is how the IT BPO project was conceived. This project will develop a BPO park at Entebbe on a piece of land measuring to about 18 acres, and it will employ 15,000 people, and indirectly it will create close to 35,000 jobs, a total of about 50,000 jobs. We are working together with the Ministry of ICT, Uganda Revenue Authority, Uganda Investment Authority, and Operation Wealth Creation, and other stakeholders who will ensure the success of this project. The first phase of this project will be developed on 18 acres of land, but we plan to expand to close to 100 acres in other regions of the country. On this land, we are going to develop an IT park which will house an innovation hub, an incubation and startup center for ingenious youth in our country, and it will also house a data center which will provide in-house services and cloud services for the solutions that are being developed at the center. It will also have a global center where the multinational companies will come in-house and demo their products to the innovation and incubation startup companies at the park. From this innovation, we will create and transfer knowledge from the multinationals to our local innovators, and it will also encourage the development of the.
My name is Bajire Vincent Waiswa, and I am the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance in the Government of Uganda. Government of Uganda, working through our agency, the National IT Authority, in the country.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But I know that you are now building your mental pictures on what this IT park is actually looking at and what we are looking at. Kindly be informed that our chat is open. Please share with us your comments and questions. And also be informed that at the end of this conference, we shall have a Q, towards the end, we shall have a Q and A session where we shall respond to the questions that you have shared with us in our chat. We have a panel of experts that will give us the required responses at the end of it. Kindly be with us. So let me share with you an animation video that will help cement the picture that you have about this IT park.
The actualization of the DPA and the IT park.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope with that video and the key messages that have been shared with us, you have built your mental picture as to what the kind of IT park we are planning. And the beauty of it, or the challenging thing with it, is that it's the first of its kind in this country. And therefore, I would like to have your comments, share with us your comments and the questions, especially in chat. Our chat is open. We shall also have a Q&A session as well. But kindly be informed and be comfortable that for the questions that we may not respond to in our open chat, sorry, in our open Q&A session, be sure we shall get back to you as long as you've shared them with us on chat. At this point, I would like to now dive deep into the presentations. And we have, this presentation is going to be made by both NITA-U and MITCON. MITCON is our MITCON Consultancy and Engineering Services, is our transaction advisor on this project. MITCON has got wide experience in ICT parks and infrastructure of such nature. So kindly allow me start this presentation. It's a market sounding conference that we are holding today. This is a brief agenda on what we are going to cover in our presentation. On a brief of the ICT Park, ICT BPO Park, the master plan and project costs, facilities and benefits for the ICT units, the ecosystem and way ahead, then the question and answer session that I talked about earlier on. My name is Newman. I work with the National IT Authority. I'm the project manager of this initiative here at NITA-U. Just take you through a brief background. The government of Uganda adopted ICT-led socio-economic policy for accelerated development with special focus on ICT entrepreneurship development and rejuvenation of the private sector and wealth creation. And it was in this regard that this project, the IT BPO Park, was proposed. Again, it is also suffice note that in 2010, the government of Uganda identified IT-enabled services where BPO, which is business process outsourcing, falls. And it is evident that this sector will do wonders when it comes to addressing the issue of youth unemployment in the country. It is also known that the ICT and BPO sectors have got a big multiplier effect on the economy of the country. So what is the overall objective of this project, the BPO IT Park? The overall objective is to have an organized and subsidized working space for IT and BPO companies in Uganda, so as to boost their competitiveness in the global market. What are the specific objectives of this project? One, we have provision of employment. We have the transfer of knowledge from multinationals to local entrepreneurs in IT business, reducing cost of providing incentives to the ICT sector, namely the internet bandwidth, training, experts, rent, tax, and utilities. Then also we are looking at soliciting for partners in the IT field of IT sector development, and more especially, as far as this project is concerned, for infrastructure and export services. Then the fifth is promoting Uganda as a destination for IT innovations and attract innovative technology firms. Then we have provide an interface or shared research environment for research organizations, academicians, and the private industry. Then lastly, but not least, we have to host local incubation and startup models for the ICT companies in the country. These are the components of this IT park. We have space for 2 anchor clients reserved. We have an incubation center, lab, data center, which you have watched in the video. We have the Global Innovation Center, ICT building, BPO building, business mall support services. What are we looking at? And we're saying in this first phase, we are looking at having 20,000 jobs, direct jobs created, which translates to 60,000, about 60,000 indirect employment opportunities created as well by this project. And we're saying that in a period of about 30 years, we shall be looking at business worth USD 60 billion. Where does this need for ICT Park, and what is the need for the ICT Park? What made us go into this initiative? We want to create improved working environment for new and established firms. We want to support the growth of ICT SMEs and startups, which is a very big and major growth drivers for these entities. Then again, also, we are looking at promoting economic growth and job creation via the digital economy. What is the project cost? This project is estimated to cost 200 million US dollars. And 90% of this is going to come from the private financing partner, which translates to 180 million US dollars. And the 10% will be contributed by government of Uganda, which is $20 million. As we plan and run with these projects, we need to keep in mind that there are global IT drivers that we have to focus on and as well develop along the way. So I will let, maybe just to mention them, just human capital, infrastructure, where we lie now with this IT park, supporting structure, and then business environment. I will request that my colleague from MITCON, Dr. Sunil Kulkarni, will share more about this global IT industry drivers. So what are the project details? We have land, and it's 17 acres, and it's in Entebbe, already secured for this project. And the project type is a greenfield, meaning that we are not converting any existing structure into this park. We are building right from ground. And the investment type is PPP, public-private partnership. And the project status, we are working on the feasibility study. It's in progress. And that's the reason as why we're having this conference this morning. We want to get your input. What is it that you consider pertinent for you to operate from wherever you are right now, but operate from the IT park when it is completed? Kindly respond to that question. Share with us what issues you consider pertinent so that we can develop a project that is relevant to you, our stakeholders. The recommended model is design, build, finance, operate, and transfer. Project financing, usually the goals of and the national strategic plans of government do dictate the kind of financing that you're going to have for such projects. And for the case of Uganda, the preferred financing model is PPP, public-private partnership. What are the benefits of this IT park once it is established and up and running? We are looking at employment generation, we are looking at export growth, we are looking at government revenues, foreign exchange earnings, skills upgrading, technology transfer and innovation, economic diversification, and productivity enhancement. We've not been doing this alone as NITA-U. We've engaged stakeholders as well within the country. And this is a list of the few that we have consulted. At this point, allow me to invite Dr. Kulkarni to continue with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you for introduction. I hope I am audible and my slides are also visible. Michael, could you please kindly confirm?
You are audible.
Yes, you are.
And the slides are also seen.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Sunil, you could go full slides, presentation mode. Thank you.
Sir, I have certain notes, so I will stick to this, but I hope it is visible because I use the large font. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I represent MITCON, which is a transaction advisor. We have submitted feasibility study report and PPP documents to NITA-U. As a member of task force in the state IT policy in India, I initiated IT ecosystem since 1995. I was involved in 3 IT SEZs and 30 IT parks across India. The places where I worked as a director of software technology parks of India, similar to NITA-U, now that city, that 3,000 acres was developed along with the state government. Though it was a different business model, not under PPP, it was through the internal accruals. Yeah, when a certain company decides to locate their office or their premises at a particular city, these are 3 basic parameters they consider, and I have given weightage for ICT. It may be seen that the government of Uganda has to concentrate on all these 3 parameters. The target progression like 70%, 80%, 90%, that kind of progression, so that it becomes a preferred destination. IT companies normally do not entertain any location if the weightage falls below 50%. More importantly, it's people skills and availability. The people skills is required in the frontline technologies, and the availability needs to be in abundance. Now, ICT Park is not a pure real estate business. Real estate plays only 25%, and the major role is played by the ecosystem, which is 75%. It is called a CLIP model. CLIP is capital, linkages, infrastructure, and people. Capital needs to be affordable. Linkages need to be from city to the global level. Infrastructure has 2 components, physical and social. Social infrastructure does exist near that location. Physical infrastructure will be created, and you have seen the video how it may come up. And the people, which is most important. Now, unicorns are created only with the apt ecosystem. So ecosystem has to be in place. It needs to be devised and implemented by experts and in true spirit. As you have seen that ICT Park construction time is supposed to be about 24 months. Area of development is about 125,000 square meter. We have suggested IT area of 60%, non-IT area of 40%. Non-IT area improves viability, but non-IT area will be basically for providing the support services to the occupants of the IT park. Now, land allocation. It is about 16.38 acres. We have reserved 2 plots for anchor clients. We'll come to that. 4 IT buildings will occupy about 9 acres. Commercial building will occupy about 5 acres. Anchor clients are basically key to the success of ICT Park. Now, anchor client needs to be of eminence, say Microsoft, Google, Apple, etc. When the anchor client gives a commitment, it means all the cliff parameters which I mentioned are in place. Business and regulatory environment is conducive, and it entices other IT units to locate at that park. So GOI needs to convince anchor client and join it early because it acts as a Pied Piper. I'll give an example of Pune where I work. Infosys has taken about 140 acres, and once Infosys had committed, then all other large IT companies, even from different states, started coming to Pune. And now that park has crossed 25,000 acres area and it is fully occupied. As Mr. Michael has mentioned, there will be 7 buildings. 5 buildings will be constructed by the special purpose company and other 2 buildings by the anchor clients. He has also discussed this slide, so I will skip. Timelines for construction. It is presumed that the first building that would be done, commercial building, that is for a reason, and other 4 buildings will be constructed in the next year. So we feel that it is possible to construct the buildings by September 2022, a commercial one, and September 2023, all other 4 IT buildings. We are also suggesting that this business mall needs to be used fully for training in the initial stages, and other service providers need to replace them in due course. Support infrastructure would be provided by Government of Uganda. I'll only say GOU here onwards. It will consist of 2 approach roads. These will be more than 15 meters. They are actually in place, but they need to be only tarred. Power will be provided at 10 watt per square feet. There will be a data center. The most important point, which will be, for the benefit of the occupants, will be software tools. The Government of Uganda, we have proposed this to Government of Uganda to purchase them in bulk so that occupants can use it at a discounted price. Google, Amazon do provide such kinds of tools for developing and testing the products or applications on their platforms. Now, which facilities are likely to be given at the ICT Park? Power will be at about 5 cents. Right now, it is about 18.5 cents. The broadband will be given at about 70 per month. Right now, it appears to be of the order of 200. There will be a plug and play for startups. It will have at least 2 floors. Then there will be a software lab, which I mentioned, and it is proposed to, identify certain mentors, and they need to be made available online and offline, so that the startups and the smaller units which are operating from that park will get benefited. Then we will also propose there will be many pitch events with angel and VC funding, so the founders or the occupants there need not have to go outside to get the funding. Now, mentors means those who have taken their company to $15 million or above. Now, what mentors do? There are 4 stages of startups. I will not mention all of them. Everyone is aware. I just mentioned for the sake of completeness. Because mentors will help these startups to complete these 4 steps in 3 years, which they might do outside of this ICT Park in 5 years. That is because whatever mistakes they are likely to happen, or if they have done, the corrective measures will be suggested by these mentors because they have gone through this process earlier. Normally, universities grant degrees, but we suggest that GOU to consider universities to become the center of innovation. Cost and ease of doing business. These are the parameters which we said are useful when a particular company wants to locate at a particular IT park. So we have mentioned that there will be lower rental for startups, electricity will be at reduced rate, electricity and broadband, and there could be taxes and duties exemption for 10 years. Now, how to make ease of doing business simpler? There will be a single window for speedy approvals. The dedicated commissioner will be appointed at that place. In case required, he will deal with other government agencies and the unit will not have to do that. Then another concept is deemed approvals. It will have a time limit. Let's say import at the port, at the airport. If the application is submitted and say it is not approved in 30 or 36 hours, whatever time limit has been put in the SOP, that is operating procedures, then the system will automatically generate the approval and the clearance can happen at the airport. There will be large facilities created for conducting training program for the occupants. So what it will help the occupants is they need not have to create training areas within their premises. They can use this in the commercial or business mall, and the billable employees could be added more that can add to their 20% of the revenue. Cost per seat. If an equivalent location is considered in Kampala at Rigas, it charges about $6,000 per year per seat. Now that cost per seat includes rent, power and broadband. So we are proposing at this ICT Park, startups will be able to get the premises at about $1,200 and the large firms will get at about $1,500. So that's the kind of cost advantage it is proposed. Though there are thousands of cities, only 80 cities having proper ecosystem have been able to produce unicorns. Unicorn means valuation more than $1 billion. China, USA, Israel, and India are 4 major players in this. China has about 233, USA 227, Israel 41, and India 36. The unicorns. These startups are the future, and now they have a valuation of about $3 trillion. Now, the report recently published by Kaufman Foundation, which is an authority on the startups, they have said that in last 2 to 3 decades, there is not much jobs created by the conventional industries. At the most, if one person is employed, 2 indirect jobs are created. However, in the case of startups in last 3 decades, that ratio is 1 to 5. This is important to note. We also suggest that there is a need to have institute for creating mentors and entrepreneurs. The ecosystem, which consists of founders, mentors, investors, and coordinators, need not be only pertaining to city. It has to be regional, national, and global linkages to be established. Ecosystem is mostly intangible. Rather, most components of the ecosystem are intangible. And there are 2 types of ecosystems. First one is called the entrepreneur ecosystem. Second one is called the innovation ecosystem. Entrepreneur ecosystem is to create entrepreneurs, and that process needs to start from the school to college to university. And innovation is these entrepreneurs have gone 1 step ahead and they have started their firm and they want to go global. Now this ICT Park and the current ecosystem which we are suggesting is basically for these innovators who have started with the firm. Which are the players of the ecosystem? The important ones are listed on the left. Basically, these are government, universities, funding agencies, and mentors. Incubators and accelerators, other service providers, and ICT industry basically provide inputs to these occupants. Startup competitions are being held to create entrepreneurs. It is to create interest from the school level to the university level. Entrepreneurship needs to be imbibed in the minds of the students. Ecosystems, if they work in silos, they need to be collaborative. And if they work in silos, then they fail. These are many examples. At least I have known about 100 cities where this exercise has failed because they don't work in unison. They don't work collaboratively. And not only they themselves fail, but even they fail their startups because they create limitations for those startups to grow and go global and become unicorns. So ICT ecosystem will consist of massive online and offline training program in frontline technologies. Frontline technologies are artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud, cybersecurity, etc. There is a need to have a special status policy, which is the location specific. We'll come to that. Then government needs to ensure that affordable financing and premises are made available by techno-economic corridor. We'll explain. Now, normally it is seen that only 3% of the startups are successful. Though this appears to be a discouraging news, it has been also seen that with the help of mentors, that percentage can be increased more than 15%. And that is why the roles of mentors is equally important. Now, success breeds success. So these mentors, create multiplier effect. How it happens, say in case of teacher, one teacher when he starts early, he may create from 1 year, maybe 4 teachers somewhere else. Those 4 teachers in due course will, create another 12 teachers, and this chain goes on. The importance of this is the Silicon Valley, which is the poster child of ecosystem, has seen this multiplier effect, and many mentors offer help, either free or they can also invest in the mentee if they like that startup, and they have made these startups successful. So if you see such, normally it is difficult to have startups grown on their own. Normally, some mentors help them to succeed in a shortest possible time. Now, we see there are threats also to this ICT Park. Let's take an example of Rwanda and Kenya, which are just adjacent countries. Their ease of doing business ranking given by the World Bank is much better. Rwanda is 36, Kenya 56, and Uganda is 116. It may take a decade or two to catch up Rwanda. So in order to catch up with them, we are proposing special status policy is the key to do it. We'll come to that. Now Rwanda is planning 10 SEZs. 2 are already operational. One is at Kigali. That ecosystem has been built around the Carnegie Mellon University, which is also operational from that premises. Kenya, and right now the Rwanda has already developed SEZs more than 1,500 acres. Rwanda population and the size is less than Uganda. So we will suggest how much acreage is required for them to match those kinds of facilities and the business turnover. Now, Kenya is doing something different. At Konza, they are creating a smart city of about 5,000 acres, and it is yet to be completed. I, just seen that about 400 acres of that is being created right now, and it might be operational by next year. Then there are about 12 large ICT parks across Africa, that is South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, etc. Now it's a call for the GOU to provide infrastructure either at a single place or a belt or at multiple cities, because it is difficult to provide such kind of an excellent infrastructure across country or across many locations. How to mitigate this threat? The answer is special status policy, which takes care of ease of doing business and reduces the cost of doing business. Skilled manpower, we have mentioned. Techno-economic corridor will just come in a minute. Focus on IP-based startups. IP is intellectual property. And when I say skilled manpower, basically they need to be employable. Just having a degree is not enough for them to be employed in any leading companies. Special project status. There is a need to have an integrated foreign direct investment, ICT and PPP policy applicable only for such projects. Status of special economic zone without 100% export obligation. That means the units, even if they are doing domestic business, they will be entitled for all the benefits which export companies will have. Deemed approvals we have discussed, ring fencing of law. We are suggesting that the continuity of policy is utterly important. Let's take an example. If suppose today income tax is at 30% of the profits and it needs to be increased to 40%, maybe due to corona or maybe for some other reasons, then 40% income tax will be applicable across entire Uganda except at this ICT Park. And this continuity of policy would be appreciated by the ICT occupants which would like to come and book their premises at this ICT Park. Further, we are suggesting that occupants may get a preference of a certain percentage over L1 in getting government contracts, which may be for e-governance, e-learning, or e-health. Manpower training, we have mentioned. Now, what is the quantum required? It needs to create 15 mentors. This we are discussing for the first techno-economic corridor between Entebbe and Jinja. So these figures pertain to that. 15 mentors, 8,000 engineering staff in all fields, not necessarily only IT, and 12,000 ITS support staff, which needs to be created in the coming years, so that once these premises are ready, those could be occupied within a reasonable time of say 6 months or 1 year. Now, Ugandan techies need to work on live projects or what we call hands-on training. And the company there is a agency in India called ITEC. It is already providing such online training to various countries in Africa. Similarly, NASSCOM is an agency in India. They have created a fantastic program called Future Skills Prime in frontline technologies, and we can help government of Uganda to tie up with them to create manpower in the frontline technologies. Now, techno-economic corridor is basically creating a cluster and that premises will be made affordable. We have suggested in certain cities with certain acreages, what kind of activity needs to be done there. We have differentiated this because the culture is different at these companies and the skill set required is also different. So we have suggested at Entebbe, it will be 125 acres. Currently, the first phase of that is about 16 acres, but it will be expanded to 125 acres. And there will be an ICT university around which the ecosystem will be built, or the Nokumba University, which is nearby, will be converted into a proper ICT university so that the area is getting that boost. Now, there are certain verticals like healthcare, tourism, education, and fintech. We suggest that the centers of excellence could be created either along with these IT parks, or maybe those areas could be created in between so that the staff is available. And basically that staff needs to be from Uganda, at least 70–80%, because unless Ugandans come and do business, the GDP of Uganda will not increase. We have suggested that the total area to be developed here could be minimum 1,000 acres. It can go even up to 1,500 acres. What will be the impact of this techno-economic corridor? There will be more than 2,000 firms. Total employment can reach 3 million. Total employment direct as well as indirect. And the cumulative business turnover can go beyond $10 billion. The key to that is, our higher growth is possible if the 75% of the skill sets is from the bottom two. If we see the assets of top 500 firms by Standard & Poor, that assets valuation is 25 trillion in 2020. Let's go back little to 1978. Tangible assets like land, capital, labor were valued 95% and 5% was only intellectual property. The scene has drastically changed in 2019. The 5% intangible portion of IP has risen to 84%. And some scientist has, said that the Third World War could happen either on IP or water. On a lighter note, what is intellectual property? It is a combination of patents, copyright, trademark, branding, industrial designs. Everyone is aware, but I am trying to, make one point very clear, that this IP can be mortgaged, licensed, or assigned. This is already done in the developed countries. And the beauty of this is the finance can be raised by the founders without diluting the equity. So, if we can bring IP financing to Uganda, it will help the ICT units and the startups. Now, why we are saying, IP-based, what is there? Basically, if the agriculture is, say, getting a revenue of X per person, the export services gets about 6x and intellectual property gets double of that. If we add stock options, these are the stocks given to the companies at discount, then it is seen that there are many multi-millionaires just because of stock option, forget their salary or their wages. So we expect this to happen in Uganda in due course, that intellectual property should be the guiding force for these entrepreneurs and for Uganda to go into the digital economy and that GDP increase. There is a need to focus more on intellectual property based startups. Now, normally in developed countries, it is seen that 70% is the labor is involved in agriculture. It needs to be reduced to 30% in a period of 1 decade to boost GDP. Use this agricultural labor by way of proper training and education to come into the industry. That is why I had given that slide where there is a comparison of agriculture and other industries. Now, it is worthwhile to note that the US produces requisite food stock for their country with less than 5% labor. Of course, they are using vertical farming, drones, robots, tractors. These are not affordable for developing countries, but this is the job of the startups. They will make things affordable by reducing the cost. I can give at least 10 examples which are there with me, which the cost reduction has been effective even to the 1% or even 0.1% of the original cost, which it used to be in about, say, 5 years ago. I'll give one example: cataract surgery. It used to cost $3,000 in India. Now it costs just $30, and it is a simple process. So the startups will make the things either better, faster, or cheaper. And that is why once the affordable these equipments are coming in, then the requirement of labor in agriculture also will reduce drastically. So they need to find some other avenues for the survival. Now let's go to Silicon Valley for a moment. Silicon Valley area is about 120 square kilometer, which is of the size of Entebbe Kampala belt. The valuation there is more than 12 trillions. Startup funding happens $50 billion per annum, and the global funding, to be precise, $264 billion. So even a small area can create wonders, and that is why this techno-economic corridors and these ICT parks, we feel if they are implemented, in right spirit, and they work, all the ecosystem works in collaboration, it can make the valuation much, much higher. So capacity building by 2030, we have mentioned this. I will only mention that total area desirable is about 1,500 acres, and ICT universities and training centers, or even universities and training centers, need to have 25%, because as I mentioned, the ecosystems are created around universities. If you say Silicon Valley, Stanford and Berkeley are the driving forces for Silicon Valley to happen. Of course, government also gave them contracts since 1970, and that's why they have bloomed. But the point is, it is possible to create about $10 billion, firms in area of 1,000 to 1,500 acres. That's the message which I want to give. Now, way forward, we suggest that platform-based skill building is necessary. Examples of platform are Airbnb, Uber, Amazon for e-commerce. Everyone is aware. There, the value creation is much higher than those who simply make mobile apps. That's the message I want to give. Initiate CMMI level certification. CMMI is basically Carnegie Mellon University Initiative for Quality. In India, about 62 firms have this CMMI 5 level, which is the highest level, and hence 30% of outsourcing contracts globally are coming to India. Now, build products or services for global market rather than doing it for local market like Israel, because that has proved to be very beneficial. Israel is much smaller than Uganda, but the GDP of Israel is about $350 billion as compared to that of Uganda of $40 billion. So we need to follow such examples to create high value firms. And for that, what is required is frontline technology. Then the manpower needs to be having that much skill sets in abundance. Universities need to be centers of innovation, and that is how the progress can happen in Uganda. One more suggestion to GOU is to use India Stack. India Stack is a free API which consists of 4 layers, and I will explain only a few elements out of this. One is eKYC, know your customer. The bank person comes to a home, he takes Aadhaar card, punches that number, authorizes that by taking thumb impression, takes a recent photograph, communicates to the backend, and the account is opened in flat 3 minutes. I have opened my account really in 3 minutes. Another example is eSign, where the documents pertaining to loan by banks or financial institutions can be signed, stamped, and registered in 6 minutes. This is the power of India Stack. I also suggest one more measure, that is EGEM. In India, what government is doing is government is buying services from the startups. It has many advantages. First one is they save cost. Second one, they authenticate that yes, this service is genuine. And third, it will also prove that they are themselves using it. So these 3 purposes will be served. Now there should be a single window portal for industry and individuals. It is not for just paying taxes, but it should be able to provide services like e-governance, e-learning, e-health, and e-ration. These 4 are major services required by most of the residents of the nation. So more information could be available on indiastack.org. It has really created humongous opportunities for startups. India Stack is similar to vaccine from India, because I think now Indian firms are providing vaccine to the entire world. And the recent figure is 24. 24 countries have evinced interest in using API Stack. The prominent one I will refer is Sundar Pichai of Google has recommended this India Stack using financial solutions to the US government. And one more example, the government of India transferred funds to billions of farmers and labor last year when they were stranded due to Corona without any intermediaries. Direct bank transfer. So that is the power of this India Stack. It can be used for millions and billions of people if the proper things are developed. We suggest that the government of Uganda can think of a tagline like lowest cost of doing business and better ease of doing business. So we are given that rather than chasing to catch Rwanda in ease of doing business across entire Uganda, it is possible to create a this specific location or demarcated area policy which will beat the ease of doing business concept, or which will beat the ease of doing business which is being followed in Rwanda and Kenya or even other African countries. So that special status policy is the answer to solving the ease of doing business problem. And of course, it also involves lowering cost. By the way, I have authored one ease of doing business report and submitted it to the government of India last year. Currently, India is having ranking of 63. I had suggested about 40 to 45 suggestions by which it would be possible for India to reach within top 10 in a span of about 4 years. Now, before I hand over this floor to Mike, I have inadvertently, skipped one slide which I want to go and make the disclosure. Yeah, the master plan, the animation video, the roadmap, suggested incentives and exemptions, or even contours of special status policy are pure recommendations. The government of Uganda will take a final call, accept whichever suggestions are doable and acceptable to them, and then they will notify. I will now hand over the floor to NITA-U. Michael, may I request you to take over from this now?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Sunil. I had promised our attendees that you're going to talk about the 4 IT global drivers.
That was, included in that clip model. It covers majorly all those items.
All right, then. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
So let me take it up from here.
Yeah, I will stop my sharing.
All right. Are you seeing my? My voice. Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil. I will straight away run to the questionnaire that I would like to discuss with our potential clients. We have shared this questionnaire with some of you, and we are going to share it again. But before we do that, I wanted us to go through it so that we get to understand what is it that we are looking at. There are a number of components that have been shared with us by Dr. Sunil and myself. And the question that we have now is, what are those pertinent units or services that this IT park, we would like this IT park to provide? Those items or those attributes of the IT park that can entice you to do your business or carry out your business from wherever you are to the IT park. We have things that from our study, we have realized that one of the things that we need to focus on, and the questionnaire is going to do exactly that, is the issue of rent. The questionnaire, we're asking you how much is it that would make business sense to you? If you are to work from the IT park, how much rent would you want to pay in that aspect? The other issue is about internet. We don't know how much you are paying at the moment, but the question we have for you is how much is it that can also entice you to come and work from the IT park? Because what we are looking at is we would want this park, once established, to be relevant to you and to all the other stakeholders. So we wouldn't want to come up with a figure that will instead discourage you from working from the IT park. We have what it is at the moment. It's about $200 per Mbps. It varies, it's not constant, depends on the telco that you are working with. And for government entities, they are getting it at 70 at the moment. And for the BPO firms, the targeted firms, that are doing it at 35. So the question to you is, how much would you consider to be appropriate and affordable so that you can thrive, your business can thrive while at the IT park? The other issue that we are looking at is the cost of electricity. How much is it that you would feel comfortable paying while at the IT park? Then we have the issues of incentives as well, the customs, the exercise duty. Then we have income tax. Then we have VAT as well. Give us your suggestions. What do you think makes sense, business sense, for you to relocate and work from the IT park? Then there are privileges that have been suggested. We can have more. This is not casting stone. Once you decide to work from the IT park, we are looking at a database of skill set available in Uganda in terms of artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, and the like. We are also, the transaction advisor is also suggesting that we have a single window for government of Uganda approvals for the different activities that you are planning to hold and will be holding at the IT park. Then also, there is also a suggestion of having preference in government contracts. Once you're a member, once you work from the IT park, you should have some kind of preference when it comes to government contracts. These are suggestions that have been made by our transaction advisor, basing on the experience that he has from the different entities that he has, the different parks that he has implemented. Then we have value-added services. When you are at the IT park, what are those value-added services that you will be able to get? We have mentors. Dr. Sunil mentioned this. We have a high-end software tools, the data center, the networking events. Then we have linkages with customers, research and development, universities and ICT industry. Then we have support services, accounts, legal, especially for the startups. You may not be able to have in-house accounts departments, legal departments. So we are suggesting that once you are at this IT park, you will have such services near you. Then we have online and offline training on live projects. This is another idea that is suggested by the transaction advisor. And we shall be asking you for your feedback on these nice elements that you would want to have see happen at the ICT park. We have you can actually direct your responses, especially the field questionnaire when we share with you, to these two addresses. On the side of MITCON, we have Dr. Sunil Kulkarni, who has just made his presentation, and that is his email address. And on the NITA-U side of Government of Uganda, I have my email address there on screen. Kindly feel free to share with us the questionnaire field when we share it with you, so that we can make informed decisions and recommendations for this ICT park. We would like to see this park's success, and would like to see it being relevant to our lives. So with that, I would like to thank you so much for your patience and audience. Kindly be notified again that our chat is open. We are receiving comments and questions. Please do share with us. We shall respond to those that we can at this point. The ones that we may not respond to, we shall surely get back to you, since you will have shared with us your contacts. At this point, I would like to invite Dr. Hatwib Mugasa to introduce our panel that is going to give us responses to the questions you shared with us. Dr. Hatwib, you are welcome.
Thank you, Michael and Dr. Sunil. On the panel for today's deliberation, we have Arnold Mangeni, the Director Information Security at NITA-U. We also have Stella Alibateese, the Director Legal and Regulatory Services at NITA-U. We have Colin Rabi Rukamu, Director E-Government Services, and Dr. Pradeep, the Managing Director at MITCON. So those are the panelists for today's discussion, and we are happy to receive any questions, any reactions to the campaign. So over to you, Michael. I open up the floor for any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Hatwib. We've shared questions with our panelists, but I have one that I would like to start with. One is a comment from Silas. Silas is saying, we are talking about IT Park, then IT BPO. So he's suggesting that we need to be consistent on what we call this park of ours. Silas, we take a note of this, and we shall work on this to ensure that going forward, we are consistent in our communications as far as this ICT Park is concerned. Then I have a question which will go to Dr. Pradeep. The question is, and it's from Sheila Mujenzi, the question is, what if an entity firm were interested to invest funds to design and build infrastructure, not operate and transfer? Would NITA-U be open, in this case NITA-U and MITCON, be open to a phased investment approach? Dr. Sunil and Dr. Pradeep, this is about the model that you've recommended for the development of this park. I have the second question. This one goes to Dr. Sunil and Dr. Pradeep. Are you looking for a PPP partner on the entire project, or will you split it up into smaller projects? This is from James Biaruhanga. Then we have a comment from Trevor Mkwaya. He's saying that we should consider developing our talent from grassroots level. Yes, Mkwaya, that is planned. And when you look at the different components of the IT park that we shared, we have space for the startups as well. And we plan to work with other entities, the universities, to make sure that we build our talent right from the ground. So may I, at this point, request Dr. Pradeep respond to the questions. Yeah, thank you.
We have suggested PPP model for investment, mainly because the that is how the IT Park business has flourished all over. In fact, in Dr. Sunil's presentation, it was stated that 2 buildings will be constructed by the angel investors, who will be the first investor sort of model for others. Balance buildings are going to be in PPP mode, and almost 80% funding in this will be attracted from the investors who are coming as partners, because the infrastructure will be created by them. In this infrastructure, actual IT companies would be coming and housing themselves to carry out the business of ICT and IT. So this model is ideal, and that is how globally investment is attracted. We have been deliberating on this for quite some time and have interacted with the various stakeholders in Uganda, as well as we have experience of this kind of investments taking place in India also, particularly in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu. So PPP mode is the best one to attract investment and develop the state-of-the-art infrastructure. Thank you.
May I add to this point that we have also done the study which is called VFM, and in that it is it is seen that there is a benefit to the government to use PPP mode rather than EPC mode, that is engineering and construction mode, on themselves. That is one reason. Second, it's by using PPP model, the government can reserve its finances, which most of the governments have their finances stretched due to Corona. So it helps them to conserve the finances for better social reasons, and hence we have suggested PPP model.
Plus, Sunil, the peripheral infrastructure is being developed. We have requested the government of Uganda to help in developing the peripheral infrastructure. So that burden is being taken over on the shoulders of the government. As a result, main park will have the investment from the private investors, and that is how this PPP model is going to get evolved.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Sunil. Yeah, on the peripheral infrastructure we're talking about the roads to the IT park. We are talking about the utilities, which is water and electricity and internet. We are working with the respective government entities to have these in place. Entebbe municipality, yes, we've had negotiations and working on that. The roads to that IT park will be tarmacked. So we've engaged Umeme as well. We've shared with them our requirements for power. The same applies to national water, and they are positive. So that is being catered for. And that is part of the 10% contribution by the government of Uganda. I see a similar question from this one. Yeah, there was one who asked about the 10% government funding. How will it be provided? And the response to this is that it will be provided through the respective government MDAs that are in Entebbe, or that run with the respective service that we need. So Stella, may I again, Stella, there are some questions that have been sent to you. Kindly share the response with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael. The first question was on how copyright will be protected, or how innovators' copyright will be protected. There was a comment that in Uganda we have a draft Copyright Act. My response is that we have the Copyright and Neighboring Act of 2006, which is the current law in place. Some years back, we, in collaboration with URSB and the World Intellectual Property Organization, prepared a manual specifically to guide copyright in the creative industry. That creative industry included software development, it included cinematography and issues like that, that normally affect our innovators. That guideline or guidance note or manual is actually available on our website. So we are cognizant of the challenges that our innovators face. We did take steps to prepare a manual to guide you on what you need to do to protect your copyright interests. We also have a very good collaborating framework with URSB, and we've previously done trainings in the innovation hubs. So we are very mindful of that requirement, and we'll make sure that within the ICT Park, we make provision for that. Secondly, we've been having discussions with the Information Technology Department within the ministry and the PS with the intention of creating what is called an innovation office. And that innovation office has various resources that enable innovators navigate the regulatory environment. So we expect that once these initiatives are in place, in addition to the manual and the collaboration that we have with URSB, we'll be able to address those concerns. The second question was on the certified firms. What benefit we can bring on board for the certified firms. First of all, I would like to clarify that we do certification for a number of reasons. The first reason is to make sure that we have companies that are providing ICT services that are following a certain standard. Secondly, it was important for us to organize the sector. We didn't know who was doing what. We didn't know what kind of technology they were applying. We didn't know what skill sets they had. So this certification program helps us to know, first of all, who is providing these services. Are they following the minimum standards? Can they be identified? Do they have certain legal requirements? Requirements such as having a legal personality, having adequate staff, having adequate equipment for the services they are supposed to provide. Now, currently we have over 400 companies, and that number is growing, that have been certified. Some of the things we do with these companies, training. In this current year, we've done about 3 trainings or 4. One of the ones that we did, first of all, we trained them on the standards. What do we look for when we certify? And we have 3 levels to make sure that we cater for the lowest and the highest. So certification level 1 are those startups, small businesses. They follow a certain minimum requirement. Level 2, we expect you to have certain standard operating procedures. We expect you to do work in a different way. We expect you to be certified in certain international standards. Then level 3 is the gold standard. You're supposed to be certified. You're supposed to have a certain skill set, and you should be providing services of a certain caliber or quality. Now, in training those certified companies, we want to make sure that those ones at level 1 actually go to level 2. Those ones at level 2 go to level 3, so that we have an organized and quality ICT industry. The other training that we did we called in experts from our procurement authority, that is PPDA. We had a number of CIOs from what we felt were high value ICT users within government and outside government. And we talked about how do you develop your bid? What do companies who want ICT services look for? What are those things that they don't want to see? And I thought that that was a very good webinar, because we want to develop capacity for the ICT firms. One of the other things that we are working on, we've started engagements with UDB with a view to see how UDB can also can support our companies, because we do these things not because we want only foreign companies to grow, but we also want our Ugandan companies to grow so that we provide more jobs and we grow our economy. Thank you very much, Michael. I believe those were the questions addressed to me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Stella. Those are the questions indeed, and you've really done justice to them. I have a question now that goes to, this one goes to Sunil, Dr. Sunil. And the question is from Tushabe Ronald, is saying, how can the available innovation and technology hub benefit from the IT Park? From experience, Doctor, how can this be possible? Thank you.
Michael, can you please repeat the question?
How can the available innovation and the technology hub benefit from the IT Park?
Which innovation hub? Is someone asking about the existing innovation hubs which are created in Uganda?
Yes.
Okay. See, if in a city there are 4 or 5 such locations, all of them need to be integrated and they need to work together. Everyone need not reinvent the wheel. If some work is already done, say at a particular place, maybe at Nakawa incubation center or somewhere it is done, that needs to be made available to others so they can also build further or give suggestions and make that product successful. So, that is what the role of the government, to create a platform on which entire data, which is going to be useful for the industry or the startups to grow, it can be utilized. I hope I have answered.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sunil. There is a question from Michael Locasio, although he has left, because he told me now his working time is now. But he was asking about the project timelines for the development of the IT Park. And for the benefit of the members who are still present, I need to share with you that the design and construction of the IT BPO Park is expected to start in September 2021 to 2023, period of 3 years, as earlier shared by Dr. Sunil. However, the other question also talks about the next steps for this this project, and the next steps are in brief. After this exercise that we are doing, we are going to finalize on the feasibility study report, which will be shared with the PPP committee at Ministry of Finance. And then that's by end of March, end of next month, we should be able to do this. And we value your inputs this morning. Thank you so much. Kindly don't stop at this. We are available. You can share more. Then after this, again, towards the end of March, we shall have presentation to the OPM, Office of the Prime Minister. Then we shall have cabinet approvals. This cabinet approval looks at the different suggestions and requests that you're going to make from this conference and even after this conference. So we want to, by the time you go to cabinet to seek for approval, it's a requirement that we should be having artifacts. Where are these incentives or whatever it is? Where are they coming from? So then we shall go into now procurement of the PPP partner, which is planned for July 2021. This year, yes. Then in September, then we shall have to start with the designing and the construction of the IT BPO park. So in a nutshell, those are the next steps and the timelines that we have planned here. And thank you very much. So we have a question that I would, this one is going to go to Colin, the Director, E-Government Services here at NITA-U. And the question is there a plan for government of Uganda to establish PKI for digital signature, which is crucial for e-government services, e-commerce, e-contracts, etc.?
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and thank you all for participating. We really appreciate your presence here. Yes, I think the quick answer to that, to you right now, is that yes, we will have PKI, or public key infrastructure, set up by led by NITA-U and the Minister of ICT and the government of Uganda. I think it's important to note that this is something we only awarded in November 2020, and therefore, looking at a one-year span of a project phase, we expect to go live in November this year. So we're just at the 3-month mark, about 25% progress so far. I want to also just emphasize that we're calling this not just the PKI, but we're calling it the digital authentication and an electronic signatures solution. So it goes a little further in terms of allowing citizens to actually have a digital account, or you can actually use smartphones to register for a securely verifiable digital authentication and electronic account. This will really allow citizens, but also allow businesses to have secure, seamless access to e-services, but also going back to the PKI, allow those who are already enrolled to actually have secure e-signed documents, which of course entails the contracts that you mentioned. So the answer is yes. We have a really great joint venture with 3 companies who have experience in Malaysia and have done a good job on the same project for e-signatures and digital authentication. And we're working very well here with NIRA, our identity register, which of course must work closely for any e-signatures and any digital identity. So I think the answer to you right now is yes. We are at the 3-month mark of a 1-year project. We expect to go live in November. And I believe that this will be a big building block for e-government services. So just to end this, we have the PKI as a building block. We have integration of government services as another building block. Those two put together will build the right Lego blocks for e-services, e-signing of documents, database sharing, e-sharing of information for an efficient government. So the answer is yes, and thank you for the question. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Colin. I have another question here that goes to Dr. Pradeep and Dr. Sunil. The question is, kindly shed more light on how the users of the IT park will be onboarded once the construction is done. Do you get the question?
Yeah.
How will you onboard clients to start working from the IT park? Thank you.
I think when the government makes a policy, it also provides the checklist for the units to make application, and then the approval can be granted. So it is not open to all industries unless they do major business in IT or BPO vertical. The entry will, I'm not saying entry will be restricted, but they need to do either ITES work from that place. They need to give a plan to the government how they would like to proceed, who are the founders, who are their partners, what kind of business contracts they are having. Based on that, the entry will be given, because the occupants are entitled for lot of incentives and benefits, and that is why the entry will be with the proper checklist. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Sunil. And I want to thank you so much for the attendees. I want to thank you so much for the comments and for the questions. And in the interest of time, I would like to invite Mr. Colin Babirukamu to close this conference. Kindly note that we are still open to your questions or comments, because we haven't yet gotten to the end of this project. We are in the beginning. Kindly, Mr. Colin Babirukamu, the floor is yours to give us some closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. And I really, really want to take this opportunity to thank all the attendees, our esteemed stakeholders. We're here to serve, and we're looking forward to this, this project. We want to thank, of course, our partners, MITCON, on this, Dr. Sunil, Dr. Pradeep, and your team. Thank you for the concept thus far. We're looking forward to finalization of the PPP arrangements and really hitting the market as soon as possible. The speakers have all been very clear. I think our goal, and I believe that our goal is really to bring a melting pot between the academia, our BPO incubators, the ICT sector, developers, startups, I mean the public in a space and an economic zone that would really allow and foster socio-economic development. We really want to create jobs. And somebody has asked, are you going to be only, in Kampala? And I think the answer was clear. We're not just in Kampala or Entebbe. This is going to be a regional strategy to really be able to have equitable approach to everybody. So I want to thank everybody who's made time online, for some of you in terms of our social media, but some of you also here on Zoom. Thank you so much. Those of you who are far and wide, we could see comments from different parts of the country and of the globe. Thank you so much also. I want to thank the panelists. Thank you for making time from NITA, our leadership through Dr. Hatwib. Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for allowing this to happen. We look forward to more interaction, and I believe that we shall have more engagements to ensure that we've got your ideas on board. I know that Michael and his team have also taken note of any other questions, and I'm sure you received contact details to keep engaging. So Michael, I believe we shall be having further engagements. Otherwise, to all of you, thank you once again, and we look forward to a very, very successful IT and BPO Park project. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank
you. Bye-bye.